Hello student, welcome back. Okay, now in this class we are doing about force. In previous chapter you have studied about motion, and you only studied motion and rest, motion and rest. And then study about speed, velocity, distance, displacement, then physical quantity like vector, scalar. And then you study about acceleration, then acceleration in graphical, then you study about some graph. Okay, but now you study motion. Who caused that motion? No one tell you. In that chapter, in previous chapter, chapter 1, you study motion everywhere. But who caused that motion to move? That would be force. Now in this chapter 2, according to your textbook, force. Force means the force is a cause that makes the object to move. Who makes the object to move? It is the force. Okay, and then what is this force? Now we want to know exactly what is this force. In previous class, in lower classes, you have studied force is a push or a pull. Okay, if I push this board, then you say it is a force because I'm pushing it. But if I pull it this side, again you say it's a force. Okay, remember that push and pull. Yes, we can say it's a force, but that is just a part of force. Okay, that is exactly isn't the definition of force. If they ask you in the exam what is force, don't say that force is a push or a pull. Yes, it is, but the definition is not that. Okay, because push and a pull is just an example of a force. Push and a pull is just an example of a force. Force means it is an external agency or it is external influence. What is that? Example. Okay, example here, this is a marker. Okay, this is the object. This is the object. Now, initially, this object is at rest. Okay, you all studied what's meaning of rest in the previous chapter. Okay, this object is initially at rest. I want this object to move. Then what I have to do? I have to apply some force. Then that force is coming from outside, right? That force is coming from outside. Okay, this force is pushing this. Now that push is a force, right? Then this, I'm pushing this object. Now this object I'm moving. Okay, that is the cause. What makes this marker to move? It is the force. That was the force, external agency that comes from outside, not internally. Okay, that internal will be another one. Okay, that was the force. It is an external agency which makes the object at rest to be in motion, or which makes the object in motion to be at rest. Look, do you understand that? Initially the object is at rest, then I want this object to move, then I'm pushing it, then it is moving. Then initially this object are in motion like this, okay, then I want to stop it, then I'm catching it. Then because in that also I have to apply a force. I have to apply some energy, I have to spend some force. Or I have to spend some energy. Then I have to apply a force so that I can stop that object. Okay, then force can make the object to move. Then force can make the object moving to be at rest. Then force can increase motion, can increase the speed or increase the velocity also. Look, if this object is moving very slow, then if someone is pushing me from back side, then I'll run very fast. Look, then force can increase the speed. Means force can change the speed of a motion, either increasing or decreasing. Look, if your vehicle are very fast, then if you want that vehicle to be very slow, you have to apply some brake. The driver apply a brake. Then that apply a brake, that brake also is a force. He has to apply some force, external force. Then also force can what? Force can change direction. Force even also not only stop the motion, not only make object move, not only increase the speed, not only reduce the speed, it can also change direction. If there is one friend, your friend is balling a ball from that side to me, then I want that ball to go to the side, then I hit it with a bat. If it ball this side, in this direction, then I will hit it with a bat, then it moving direction. Then the force can also change direction. Then not only that, then force also can change the shape of the object. Force also can change the shape of the object. Example, okay, now is this the shape of a marker? Now I want to change the shape of this, then I apply a force. Yeah, now it's changing a force, changing the shape. Not this one, this is simply example. Now is this the shape of this textbook? Okay, then I want to change the shape of this, then I'll bend it. Now this change the shape? Yes, it's change the shape. Now force can change the shape of the object. Then not only that, force can deform a motion, can deform object. That just means changing the object, changing the shape of the object. Deform means change the shape of the object. Deform. Then what else? Force even can twist the object. Okay, example, this one. Don't move, don't laugh. Now this one, now this is the object, now I can twist it. Yes? Then after removing, again it will turn back. Okay, leave that. Leave that, return back, will be another topic. Okay, now you got what's meaning of force? Force can stop motion, force can make motion, force can change the speed, then force can change direction, and force can deform the object. Then you said at the beginning, what is force? Force is a push or a pull. But now it's not only push and a pull. You got it? Then force is an external agency which tends to change the state of rest. What is a force? It is the external agency which tends to change the state of rest or uniform motion or change direction or change velocity or deform a body. That is force. Now what is force? Force is an external agency which tends to change the state of rest. What do you guys change the state of rest? We initially the object is at rest, and I want to change its rest, and I'm moving this one. Let's change the state of rest. Or uniform motion. If the object is moved with uniform, then I want to make it increasing the speed or decreasing the speed, or I want to stop that motion. That is mean change the state of rest or uniform motion. Okay, first before we define the definition of this, we look first what are the effects of forces. Effect of forces. Okay, number one. What are the effects of force? Force can produce motion. That is one effect. Force can produce force can produce motion. Okay, that is one effect of force. Then was one more. Force can stop motion. When a car is in motion, if you want to make the car stop, you will apply a brake. That brake will be a force. Or if this object is moving like this, then you want to stop it, you want to hold it. Then also you have to apply a force. Okay. Then number three. Number three. Force can, number one, force can change direction. Force can change direction of an object. Force can change direction of an object. Then number four, force can change the velocity of an object. Force can change velocity of an object. What is this? If the object are moving very slow, then I want that object to be run very fast and I have to push it. Or if that object are very fast and I want to slow down it, I have to apply some brake. That is a change. Force can change velocity of an object, or force can change the speed of the object. Okay. Then number 5. Even it can change the shape of the object. Then force can deform object. Force can deform object. Deform means change the shape of the object. Deform means change the shape of the object. How to change shape? Example is example is when you want to change shape, you can break it. After you break it, you will change the shape, right? Okay. Now this is a pen. Now I want to change it. Now with the change, now that also applying force. Okay. Now you got what are the effects of force. Then if they ask you what in the exam, what is a force? Don't write force is a push or a pull. That is just an example of a force. Okay. Then force is an external agency. Force means a force which comes from the agency or the things or the action which come from outside. And force is an external agency which tends to change the state of rest. Meaning initially the objects are at rest, then you don't want that object to be at rest, and you apply some force, then the object are in motion, that is produce motion. Force is an external agency which tends to change the state of rest or of uniform motion, or change the direction of object, or change the velocity of object, and also deform the object, deform the size of the or the shape of the object. That is called force. Now you got it? Then you write that definition. I won't write it here because I'm already detailed it again and again. Force is an external agency which tends to change the state of rest or of uniform motion, or change direction of the object, and even change the velocity of the object, and also deform the shape of the object. That is called force. Then force are of two types: balanced and unbalanced force. Okay, what is that balanced and unbalanced force? The example here, this is the ground. Okay. Here, this is the ground. Okay, remember, force it never occurs alone. Remember that. Force is never occur alone. Force is always occur in pair. In pair means two. Force is always occur in pair. That force will be called as, there is always an action and reaction. There is always an action and reaction. Even if I punch this board, maybe this board will get break, or I don't know, maybe if it's hard, then my hand will break. My hand will get hurt. Okay, now if I punch this board, then that is the action. That is action of what? Action. Force of action. Then this board also gives a reaction that my hands get hurt. Then that, why my hands get hurt, there is a force of reaction. Then force it never occurs single, it always occurs in pair. Then look here. Now if there is a one man or one woman or I don't know what is there. Okay, now this man or who's this man? This is let's just stick around. Okay, now this man, his weight in force, remember that, don't confuse. Weight is not mass. Weight is not kg, not kilogram. Now his weight is acting acting on this ground. That is action force. That is action force. And then there is a reaction by what? By the ground. This ground also gives a reaction force. Push that man upward. Push it up. Then this will be reaction. But when this reaction is pushed this man up, will this man fly above? No. And when he gives action, then will this man again fall down? Fall under the ground? No. He doesn't fall under the ground, and even he doesn't fly up. What does that mean? Reaction force and action force. Okay, I wrote this. FR means reaction force and FA is action force. Now what's the meaning of this? Now when reaction force is equal to action force, meaning the action what man is given to the ground, then the ground also give equal force. That is a reaction force. Remember, action and reaction are always equal. Action and reaction are always equal. Then when these two forces are equal, that is called balance force. That is called balance force. Then for balance force, the net force is always 0. For balance force, the net force is always equal to 0. What's that net force? Net force means the total force. Means the total force acting on this man. Now look, this force is downward. Downward is always taken as negative when you draw a graph, right? Draw like this, then this one is negative, -1, then -2, -3. Then this side always taken as negative. Example, this force, this FA is negative. And then this FR is positive. But both these forces are equal in magnitude. Okay, example like this. FA is equal to -3 Newton. Because remember, as I need a force of Newton, we will come to that. Then reaction force also, because they have to be equal, but this is a positive 3 Newton. Then if I will total them, then FA plus FR, action and reaction, then we got here -3 plus 3. How much we got? 0. Means the net force for unbalanced force is for balanced force is always 0. Now you got what is balanced force? Balanced force means whenever the object is at rest or in motion, the force does not affect the state of rest or does not affect the state of motion. Now example, this this duster here. Now this duster, now it applies some weight on my hand. Now that weight will be the action force. And then my hand gives a reaction to this duster. Will this duster move? No. This duster will remain there if the reaction is pushing over also. And my hand also doesn't move down. Because then if in that case, then the force will be balance force. Meaning the object will remain at the same place. Then what's balance force? A balance force is a force where where it does not affect the state of rest or the state of motion of the object. In that case, the net force is always equal to 0. But if the net force is not equal to 0, then it won't be balance force anymore. Okay. Balance force. Okay, alright. Balance force does not affect the state of motion. Mean the state of rest. The object is still remain at the same place. Mean it is an equilibrium state. Mean balance force does not affect the state of the object. Means the state of the object means whether at rest or whether in motion. Then the net force here. Net force is always 0. Whenever the net force is 0, means it is a balance force. The definition I won't write it. Maybe you try it by your own, or is there in your textbook also? Okay, then I'll come to unbalanced force. Unbalanced force. This unbalanced force will be it affects the state of rest. It affects the state of the object. Okay, what's the meaning of this state here? State means either the object is at rest or either the object is in motion. Now here, balance force means does not affect the state of rest. If the object is at rest, whether you push it or you don't push it, if there is a balance force, then this object will remain at rest. But if it is in motion, if it push or if it doesn't push, it does not affect it. Then the net force is always 0. But here, unbalanced force means it affects the state of object. Example, here this object is lying on the ground. If one person is pushing this okay, example, this is a box. If one person is pushing this box aside with a force F1, and if another person is pushing this side with a force F2, now both are pushing opposite. Okay, here is one boy and here is one boy. And if boy 1 is stronger than boy 2, if boy 1 is stronger than boy 2, then this box will move this side, right? Now this box did remain at the same place. This box did remain at the same place. If this is a strong, this is a weak, then this box will move. This box will move that direction, mean in this place. Then in this case, mean F1 is greater than F2. They are not equal anymore. In this case, F1 is greater than F2. The net force. The net force is equal to F1 minus F2. Then it won't be equal to 0 anymore. Then it has some value. It has some value. And the direction of that box, it is along the direction of F1. Because F1 is greater than F2. But if F2 is greater than F1, then this box will move this direction, along the direction of F2. Okay. Then we got it. Now, balance force, it does not affect the state of object. And the net force is equal to 0. And unbalanced force, it affects the state of the object. It can change the state of rest or it can change the state of motion. And net force does not equal to 0. It has some value. That value is the difference between that force of action and force of reaction. Look here. Maybe this one gives the action, then this one gives the reaction. Okay. Wait, I'll take rest for 5 minutes because I'm so tired.